Good evening and welcome to tonight's broadcast of the Total Nonstop Racing League, live here at Homestead-Miami Speedway for the championship race. And Joe, this is going to be a fun one tonight. The championship comes down to Philip Scott or John Cannizzaro Jr. And man, this is going to be a fun one to watch tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a close one. I believe there are some specific rules we were trying to go over, or not rules, but stats we need for who needs to win what and who needs to lead what to get where. So it's definitely going to be a close one.
Yeah, essentially, Cannizzaro and Scott, they need to finish close to each other. Coming into tonight's race, Philip Scott is 5 points behind the 77 of John Cannizzaro Jr., who is right here on your screen. That 5 points could be the difference between leading a lap, leading the most laps, getting the pole. And right now, Philip Scott is just trying to say, I need to put out the best qualifying lap I possibly can so that Cannizzaro cannot possibly pick up those extra points for getting the pole. Now, after that, it's gonna have to come down to who finishes this race higher than the other. I believe, if the maths, Philip Scott is going to have to finish 2 spots ahead of Cannizzaro in order to get the win. If he finishes 1 spot ahead of Cannizzaro, I believe that very well could result in a tie if, you know, everything works out in the perfect scenario. And in that case, Cannizzaro has the tiebreaker over Philip Scott because he just simply has more wins.
Math. The strong suit of this broadcast.
Yes. So it is certainly going to be interesting to see how all of that shakes out as this race goes on. But as of right now, Philip Scott with a very, very quick lap, 32.66, as he's got just about a tenth of a second over top of Shane Ewing, who's got a 32.7. Here's Jonathan Gaston in the number 72 machine. So far, P3 with a 32.8. And Joe, this track, Homestead-Miami Speedway, variable banking, less banking on the bottom, much more banking on the top. You're going to see guys run every single line all race long. And you got to watch out for what Philip Scott just did there, getting real sideways through the corners.
I've been noticing that in their practice, they were constantly swerving, wiggling, crashing over there. So that'll be definitely something to look out for.
Yeah, and we saw Jonathan Gaston there just come across. You see those black seams there on the track. That's where, when they pave the track, it's, you know, paved out in layers of asphalt. Well, the tar that kind of connects the 2 layers on top, that doesn't have nearly as much grip as the asphalt does. So when you come across that and you have one wheel on, one wheel off, it easily could kind of just kick the grip of the car sideways and you lose control. And we've seen that a lot going on out there tonight.
Which is great for you guys to watch. Terrible for the driver.
Oh, I hate it as a driver, but as a fan, oh, give me more. As you saw the 72 get a little loose there, he snags the wall on the outside. Johnny Williams popping in the chat saying, good luck all. Hello to the booth. Hello, Johnny. Thanks for hanging out here tonight. Philip Scott practicing getting down onto pit road. Just like that, the track falls silent. Here comes John Cannizzaro Sr.
Been having issues all practice long on that last turn.
Yeah, it's just so difficult there because you want to carry as much speed as you can. You just wind up getting sideways, and that was not the best lap there for Cannizzaro Sr. 34.04 is his qualifying time. So just like that, we're getting ourselves ready to race here at Homestead-Miami Speedway. 150 miles, just about 100 laps here tonight. And this is going to be for the championship race. So, Joe, let's take a quick look here at the starting lineup for tonight's broadcast. On the pole for tonight will be the number 99 machine of Philip Scott. He's going to pick up those bonus points for getting the pole. On his outside, there he is, John Cannizzaro Sr., points leader coming into tonight's race, only 0.08 seconds slower than Philip Scott. Row number 2, we have Shane Ewing and Jonathan Gaston. Row 3 has Jamar Dumas and Ace House. Jacob Bettis and Jason Schue make up row number 4. Row number 5 has Ross Stevens and John Cannizzaro Sr., with row number 6 having the number 7 machine of Garrett Gleason rounding out this 11-car field for tonight. And Joe, this is going to be an incredible race. High stakes, high reward. And I'm already looking forward to it as these drivers head onto the track for tonight's race.
Is some low, some high? Is that a feature or a bug?
That is just what drivers typically do, because the exit lane down below the track is not exactly wide enough to have 2 cars. So they typically, if you qualify on the outside, you just jump up onto the banking. If you're on the inside, you take the emergency route down low.
Love the design.
Again, as these drivers come down pit road, you do not need to take the access road onto pit road. That is only for the Indy cars. So you can come right off the banking, right there where those 3 hash marks are, just as this pace car is getting ready to do. Pace car pulls off for one final time. The field in the hands of the flagman. Green flag is out. And we are racing here at Homestead-Miami Speedway. A great start by Cannizzaro. He's going to get the jump to the outside. Philip Scott running the bottom all the way around the racetrack through turns number 1 and 2. Still side by side as they exit 2 down the back straightaway. Oh, Jonathan Gaston gets real squirrely. He's sideways. He's going to lock it down. We stay green.
Ooh, rough break for him. He is currently sitting 3rd in the standing.
Yeah, tough break there for Gaston. Let's take a look to see what had happened with him. As it looks like, yeah, he just got a little bit squirrely there. Yeah, right there, he comes across the seam, kicks it sideways, and oh man, big save, able to keep it going. But is definitely going to be behind the 8 ball now.
Yeah. Man, I didn't even say anything. I was just looking at his car because I was going to say his paint scheme is fantastic.
Yeah, that is a great looking machine. Right now, Cannizzaro Jr. leading the field over Philip Scott. These 2 drivers thick into this championship points battle. Cannizzaro is going to have more momentum out the bottom. Scott able to get alongside him down low. And I think Philip Scott might actually be able to have the better line throughout this race if they both stay down low. This time Cannizzaro goes down the block. Cannizzaro doing everything he can to try to take air off of the front of the 99. But this time Scott gets a great run down the front stretch. Adam Stewart in the chat saying, hey guys, still trying to recover from kidney stones. Would have loved to get on the last race. Definitely miss seeing you out there, Adam. Hopefully all is well, and we'll see you back in the next month or so for 2025 B season.
Yeah, I understand. Take your time.
Certainly not fun, but the guy who's having a ton of fun is Philip Scott, currently leading the field as he makes a great move to get around Cannizzaro.
This is going to be interesting because I know Scott likes to set a pace and follow that pace, but I think if, like we were going over, I don't think Cannizzaro, or at least Scott doesn't want Cannizzaro to lead a lap. So that's going to be interesting that he has to follow Cannizaro's pace instead of what he normally would do.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be interesting because, Cannizzaro did get to lead his lap. Philip Scott is also able to lead his lap. So Philip essentially negated the led a lap prize because they both covered. They both got the same amount of points for that.
Right.
RC Plains popping in saying, just got here. What does Philip Scott need to do to win the championship? Essentially, at this point, Philip has to win. He has to beat the 77, and I think he has to beat him by more than one position. So if Philip wins, Cannizzaro would have to finish third, because otherwise it would be Cannizzaro's race, or Cannizzaro's championship. Coming into tonight, Philip Scott was 5 points below Cannizzaro. But after getting the pole, I believe that should have pushed him up a spot in the standings. So it's going to be interesting. Yeah, math is certainly not our strong suit here. Because coming into tonight's race, John Cannizzaro Jr. had 5,715 points. Philip Scott had 5,710 points. So essentially, whoever gets the better finish gets the championship, unless they both finish outside of the top 6. Because the winner gets 175 points, second place gets 170, 165 for third, and so on. Bonus points, if you lead a lap, lead the most laps, and get the pole, those are extra positions. But if it came down to the tiebreaker, Cannizzaro has more wins than Philip Scott. In theory, if Philip Scott leads the most laps, all he has to do is beat Cannizzaro.
Right.
But if he leads the most laps, but Cannizzaro still wins, it'll wind up being a tie, which means the tie would go to Cannizzaro regardless because he has more wins.
Semantics, am I right?
This is why I went to school, for radio.
Yeah, Scott did have a little bit of a lead there for a while. It was like a second and change, but I think Cannizzaro kind of, moved his line, and he has caught up.
Yeah, Cannizzaro started running that top line, and the top line is going to be great for speed. You carry so much more momentum up top. But at the same time, it actually puts a lot more heat into the tires because you're going faster, you're pushing a little bit more on the right sides. So Philip Scott doing the smart thing, trying to run the bottom as long as possible. But we'll see how long that's going to work as Scott kind of pushes up about half a car length now to the second lane, for lack of a better phrase. 99 starts right up in front of the 77. Here comes Cannizzaro for a crossover move. Cannizzaro takes a peek down low. That's going to force Scott to run the top. Even in a drag race down the front straightaway. Philip Scott, I believe, leads that lap. Incredible racing. 13 laps into this one. Don't they know they still have 88 more laps to go?
Last race of the season. You got to put it out there.
They don't want to bring these cars back to the shop. This is the last race for this current version of the car in TNR. Next season, we are swapping over to the real-life 2003 Gen 4 cars. Drivers will have the choice of running either the Chevy Monte Carlo or the Ford Taurus.
Yeah.
And each of those bodies actually have individual body styles depending on what track they run. So the super speedways have a much thicker front nose, so they can actually push and bump draft. The rest of the cars are going to look similar to these. These cars being based off of the 2007 Nationwide Series bodies. Even though they're made to look like 2003, they're just 07s with a little extra work.
I feel like that was most cars in 2007, huh?
Yeah, that's about right. Look on board here with Philip Scott. We see Cannizzaro just taking a peek barely to the outside. Scott running the top. Cannizzaro moves up top. He's going to slide up the track. Little crossover move here from the 99. Can he make it stick? He's inside. What a battle we've got here.
It's interesting that Cock can keep the pace on the inside like that.
Just a couple of gladiators duking it out here into turn one.
As Stevens pits. I don't think he had any damage, so this might just be his plan.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. Maybe he had scraped the wall a little bit. I'm not seeing anything incident-wise showing up. Although it does say he has one off track. That very well could have just came during the pace laps. So we'll slot Cannizzaro back up to P1. Philip Scott about 0.3 behind.
What a battle these two.
Just incredible. Still 0.4 of a second separating them. There is the gap between drivers. You can really hear how patient you have to be down on that bottom. Earlier you get in the gas, the more tire heat you put into the car, the more the car is going to want to push up. And if you get on that seam just long enough, the back end wants to really try to skip itself around.
With this lap, Cannizzaro led it. There goes that point. So that's a wash.
So it's all just going to come down to head-to-head finishes. And I think Philip Scott knows this too, as he's going to try to drive it in deep.
Because there's points for the most laps led as well, right? So
yeah, so you get 5 bonus points for leading a lap, 5 bonus points for leading the most laps, 5 bonus points for the pole. So right now, Cannizzaro just wants to give himself the best chance. So if Cannizzaro right now, he's led a lap, so there's his 5 bonus points. If he leads the most laps, he'll get an additional 5 bonus points.
Right.
Philip Scott has gotten the pole, so there's 5 bonus points. And he's already led a lap, so that's an extra 5 bonus points.
Right.
Right now, if they finish the way they run, they're tied.
Right. Well, right now, Scott also has the most laps led, which is another 5 points.
Yeah, so right
Scott
now,
is currently working with 15 points.
Yeah. Versus Cannizzaro's 10.
Right.
Or, well, I guess technically 5 because he hasn't led the most laps yet. Yeah. So right now, Philip Scott actually is the championship leader.
Right.
He just doesn't want Cannizzaro to lead more laps. Oh, Cannizzaro into the wall.
That's going to slow him down a little bit.
That it does. Here comes Philip Scott to the inside. That was just a matter of Cannizzaro getting a little too close to the wall. You want to use all the space, but even
Not
then,
that much.
not that much.
Honestly, RC Planes, we do need an abacus. Yeah.
If you smell what's burning, it's my brain.
I ran out of fingers.
I had to resort to toes.
I'm wearing sandals. I did look down.
So here comes Philip Scott back to the inside. Is he going to be able to clear? No, he's not. Quarter of the way into this one, and there are other cars on the racetrack, but this has been the best battle out there regardless.
Yeah, I was going to say Ewing was only 2 seconds behind, but over the last 3 laps, that has significantly widened.
They are still side by side. Cannizzaro leads lap 25.
My nose.
Man, if they can keep this up for another 75 laps, I think this is in for an all-time race. And that's the thing. They're racing cleanly. They're racing respectfully. I know there's still 25 laps to go with the championship on the line, so anything could change. But they're both very aggressive drivers, but very talented drivers as well. They know exactly where they need to put their car to give themselves the advantage and to make a little hassle for the other driver.
Yeah, we'll call it that.
And, big slide up. And he clears him. Wow.
I think he took a tiny bit of a bump there, too.
Let's take a look at that one again on replay. Let's see how close that actually was between the 99 and the 77. So here it is again on the replay. We're on board with Cannizzaro. They're side by side. We'll see Philip Scott slide into frame there, and whoa! You heard the 77 had to burp the throttle ever so slightly.
You know what's interesting here? I'm looking at the stats. This is just a little something. Philip Scott, his top speed has been consistently 185, maybe 186 miles an hour per lap. Cannizzaro Jr., anywhere from 184 to this lap was 192.
Wow. So consistency for Philip Scott and a little more aggression there for the 77.
Yeah, and I'm sure over the course of this race, those few mile an hour difference, I can surely assume that the tires are going to feel that.
For sure. Right now, taking a look at the weather, 7 mile an hour winds here for the track, blowing at a 22-degree angle. Could not tell you what that means.
More math, Bob? You can't just say like east.
If I had to guess, I'm assuming it would be northeast. But again, I went to school for radio. I am not chief meteorologist. 81-degree air temp, 84-degree track temp, so plenty of grip out there for these drivers. Jonathan Gaston makes his way down pit road.
About how long? This is about what we should be seeing. The pits is Cannizzaro Senior as well entering real quick.
Yeah, we probably will be seeing these guys making their way down pit road within the next few laps then. Because this race is 101 laps. You definitely cannot
really
make it.
pulled a gap.
Yeah, he's back now 1.4 seconds. And now I think we might be playing the game of chicken just to see who blinks first to head down pit road.
Yeah, that's I mean, this is kind of always what ends up happening, especially with these two. They've been racing hard the last 33 laps. Canzaro usually was running the top, so those tires were gonna eventually give out before Scott's was, and I think that's what we're looking at, because he is dropping to about 0.2 to 0.3 seconds a lap at this point.
Yeah, and you just heard right there, he got on the gas and then he had to back off because he knew he was going to get tight and may even get into the fence. So he had to back off just a little bit, and every time you lift off like that, the car just slows and bogs down heavily.
And so at this point, it seems like Canzaro has to pit.
Yeah, I think he absolutely will be soon. Just like that.
Yeah.
And, oh, big slowdown. He's able to stay on pit road and under pit road speed. Jamar Dumas and Ace House also make their way down pit road. As you see Jonathan Gaston there in the background drive by. Same with Jason Schue.
Yeah,
What
and
does
this is
mean?
where
Philip
this is
Scott
where
heads down. He does.
Oh, he does. Yeah, I was going to say, this is kind of Scott's game. He loves kind of, you never know where he's going to pit, because usually he's not with everybody else.
Yeah. So if we go and do some of this math again, 36 laps in. 36 and 36, that would be lap 72. Which would leave them with a 39 lap run to the finish. If they do 36-36.
Right.
But I would expect to see some pits changes. But right there, here's Philip Scott on the exit ramp. And there's Canizaro Jr. through 1 and 2. This is going to be the battle for the lead coming off of pit road. Philip Scott has it, but Canizaro is going to have a big bunch of momentum. Once Ewing and Bettis head down pit road, this is going to be the gap for the lead.
Yeah, right where we left off.
Meanwhile, out front here is Shane Ewing. Last time by, Ewing did a 35.24. Jacob Bettis in second also did a 35.24. Expecting to see the 32 pit soon as he makes his way down pit road. Canizaro just ran the best lap of the race at a 32.76. Jacob Bettis makes his way down pit road now. And look who's back out front. "62 laps remain here at Homestead-Miami Speedway and the 2025A Schue's Lawn Care GNS Series." Or I guess just the GNS, because the Grand National Series does not make sense.
Yeah,
Just like an ATM machine. So out of turn number 4, Philip Scott still with the lead, about 0.3 over Canizaro Jr. Jamar Dumas lurking in the shadows, about 10.5 seconds behind these two. And he's honestly just sitting there licking his chops saying, all right, boys, if you guys want to wreck, that'd be nice.
Yeah.
Make for some great drama, that's for sure.
Oh, 100%. Because then take all that math that we painstakingly worked on the last half hour or so.
Yeah, give or take. We've been live for about 40 minutes now.
Yeah, just throw that all out the window.
It's like a crew chief trying to figure out fuel strategy, and a late race yellow comes in. You're just, oh, man. Ross Stevens making his way on the pit road. Certainly an interesting camera angle there. Tonight's camera angles are, in fact, brought to you by our friends at Track Cams for Gourmets. You can check them out online, trackcams22.com, or in the link in the description down below. Click on that link, and if you purchase any of their awesome camera packs, you'd be helping us out there too as well.
It's interesting that Cannizzaro is still running the upper track, knowing that he kind of burned out his tires quicker last stint. I'm surprised he's going back to it.
I am too. I mean, yes, he is fast, and basically I'm sure that's one of those moments where he's like, all right, I'm going to run the top, and if we get a yellow, great. If we don't get a yellow, I'm still pretty fast until I'm not,
Mm-hmm. He falls off hard. If this was an RPG, his car would definitely be the wizard, the glass cannon.
Yeah, very powerful.
Fast until he's not,
but also falls off. But even then, I mean, Cannizzaro, he really is kind of the closer here at TNR. He's got some great stats. I mean, coming into tonight's race, Cannizzaro has 6 wins to Phillips 1. In 18 races, Cannizzaro has 12 top 5s and 16 top 10s. By the way, so does Philip Scott. 12 top 5s, 16 top 10s. So that exactly shows you why there's only a 5-point gap between those two drivers.
Absolutely. I see Scott really putting on the heat. Not allowing Cannizzaro to catch up as he was last stint. We'll see if... I think it's usually about 15 laps in, Cannizzaro starts to catch up. And then they ride it out for a while, and then Cannizzaro's tires get burned out. So let's see if we rinse and repeat this stint.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're already... The last pit on lap 35, we're at 47, so that's 12 coming to 13 laps into the stint. So, Joe, you're almost there.
Let's see if he starts making up time.
So check that at the line. There are about 1.5 seconds separating the two. This is the closest battle on the racetrack at the moment. And I think Phillip is really enjoying having Jacob Bettis just behind him.
Yeah.
Bettis just lapped car, just kind of not in the way or anything like that, just kind of taking up space, for lack of a better phrase. And honestly, that if I'm Philip Scott, keep him there. You know, maybe you can kind of sit there and say, oh, well, hopefully the 6 might have an incident. Maybe he'll slow down the 77.
Yes,
Not saying that that's something that happens, but I think in the heat of the moment, you're sitting there saying, that'd be pretty nice.
Seems I was incorrect.
So yeah, we're now 15 laps into this one, and Cannizzaro has fallen back now 2.2 seconds.
Yeah, I think Scott's really pushing it. I don't think he wants to be neck and neck. I think he just wants to get way out in the front, get those extra 15 points, push as hard as he can. I wonder if that's been his strat, or if he had to adjust because of how hard he was racing Cannizzaro. Maybe it was making him a little uncomfortable.
Yeah, I don't know. That is a phenomenal question.
And of that, now I'm interested to see what's going to happen with the pit situation. So Scott has given himself a nice buffer and growing. Is he going to try to stay out, 3 or 4 more laps to try to get that last bit, or is he going to run out of gas? So that's not in the cards. I'm not sure what the upper end of laps could do with these for gas this race.
Yeah, I think at this point it kind of depends on what the 77 wants to do here as well, because we saw there Cannizzaro pitted 1 lap before Scott and almost wound up making that pass work and making up the deficit. So if I'm Philip Scott, I'm saying, all right, I pit on lap 35. That means if I were to pit on lap 70, I can make it the rest of the way, no questions asked. Mm-hmm. However, if I push a little bit further, I am 1,000% able to make it the rest of the way. But that undercut, that pitting early, could actually make up some time. But if he grows this gap out even larger, that is going to take away that time advantage for the undercut, where if Cannizzaro were to pit, Philip Scott may not necessarily need to answer right away, but he might need to answer sooner should the 77 pit.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Slightly. It's like you with regular math, me and pit math. It's rough.
What is the TikTok trend? Girl math? Pit road math. Don't ask me how it works. I just know it kind of does.
Yeah.
Like my strategy in any of the GT3 road racing series, the second I'm able to make it the rest of the way on fuel, that's when I pit. And somehow that allows me to pick up usually about 5 or 6 spots.
That's me on road trips.
Can confirm. Somehow we got to Boston that one year and made it in time for lunch.
Yeah, that was good.
Still have no idea how you did that.
Don't tell the cops.
Right now we're starting to get a battle here for third, as Shane Ewing starting to try to track down the 28 of Jamar Dumas. last couple of laps, Dumas was faster this time through. Shane Ewing picked up about 2/10 over the 28. And whoa, big wiggle there from Dumas. That's going to let the 32 catch up even more.
Scott in the chat, or Adam Stewart in the chat. If Cannizzaro pits at lap 66 to 67, he can make it all the way. Same with Scott.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
I think you also have to take tires into consideration. So even if you know you can make it the rest of the way, I personally would like to have some extra tires there towards the end as Shane Ewing makes his way around the 28.
Yeah, especially if I'm a
Ewing in the wall.
Cannizzaro type racer where I'm hurting my tires. Those few extra laps.
Yeah, those few extra laps, the tires, I would just kind of abuse the tires that you have on you so you can kind of start with a fresh slate for the third stint.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's what I do with all my tires every race I have, but that's a different story.
So in theory, we are about 6 to 7 laps away from green flag pit stops. Philip Scott has opened up about a 4.5 second lead over Cannizzaro Jr. Ewing in the wall again as Jamar Dumas tries to take a peek down to the inside.
Making him antsy.
The words peek and look do not belong together.
Yeah.
We do not want anyone taking a leak downside. Because at Pocono, they have, or at least had, the world's longest urinal. Fun fact.
What?
Yeah, that was a thing for a while at Pocono. Not sure if they still have it. It was out there in the fan zone.
Of course it is. Just wide out in the open.
World's longest urinal trough. Adam Stewart asking what are Phillips' lap times so far. Let's take a peek. 34 6s and 5s fairly consistently. This last time through, he did a 34-8 because he was fighting with the 6 of Jacob Bettis. But even then, Cannizzaro still just a hair slower. But they're running almost identical lap times with about 34-8s. 34-6s, we'll call it 34-6s to kind of give both drivers benefit of the doubt there. As now Philip Scott runs the high line. (34-6) that time for Scott. Another 34-8 for Cannizzaro. Actually, 34-9.
I was looking into this because I was just interested. So, the longest temporary urinal is 290 feet installed each year in the New York City Marathon start line between the Verrazano Bridge and 300 feet to the other direction. But the longest Guinness World Record is actually called Porcelain Palace in China. And it is 3,000 meters squared. It has 1,000 toilets and urinals. The more you know.
Huh. I don't know. I miss the person I was before I knew that fun fact.
Yeah. Porcelain Palace makes it sound like it's an amusement park. I think it's just a restroom.
This is the ride. So just like that, here comes Cannizzaro Jr. He's jumping down pit road, him and his father there. And Adam
Right
Stewart
on
says
67.
Cannizzaro would need to pit maybe 2 laps ahead of Philip Scott in order to take the lead. So knowing that Cannizzaro has headed down pit road, is this going to push the 99 to try to cover? And yes, it does.
Mm-hmm.
So Philip Scott knows that he's going to have to cover. And this here is going to be the money stop. Philip Scott down onto pit road. RC Plane says 3,000 meters of urinals. Sounds like me getting stuck in a bathroom in my bad dreams.
100%.
Yeah, that sounds absolutely miserable.
Yeah, the smell.
Oh. So here's Philip Scott on pit road. Jamar Dumas there behind him. Cannizzaro about 1.7 seconds back as Scott is down and away. There's Cannizzaro just crossing the start-finish line now. Let's see how this race comes. It was a 4-second gap as they came off of pit road. Down onto the start-finish line. There are the 2 drivers, and that's we'll call that one a 1-second gap between Scott and Cannizzaro. Cannizzaro drops down low. This is going to be the race for the win here with 31 laps to go. Ace House in the lead over Jacob Bettis.
That is indeed 3,280 feet of urinals.
Oh, I would hate to have to clean those.
Could you imagine what the property values near that are? It can't be good.
It really can't. But could you imagine the property value of the urinals?
Oh, come on. I would charge people to get it.
I'm sure they do.
Right? It's like a doctor's office. Like, yeah, urinal 732 is reserved for Bob.
Yeah. Ding dong, your urinal is ready. 0.6 of a mile.
You can more than drag race these urinals. Vroom, vroom.
I wet my pants 1/4 mile at a time.
Right? Is it one of those things where, like, depending on how bad you have to pee is the urinal you use, like, you really gotta go, you get urinal number 1. Now, are you just here to look around? You'll probably hit urinal 1,000.
Yeah, I feel like the restroom code does, but also shouldn't apply at the Porcelain Palace.
What, the every other? That still gives you 5. If anything, there is no better time than to apply that.
You know what?
Gives you
That's
still
fair.
500 urinals.
Oh, well, back to racing action. This is the gap right here. 1.4 seconds separates the 99 from the 77. I do have a stat that I'm holding in my pocket that I will not say until the end of the race.
I don't like the way you said that. But speaking of 1,000 urinals, do you know this racetrack goes over 1,000 palm trees?
Really? This is some
That's a
very
lot of
happy
trees.
dogs.
Right. I mean, yeah, I guess there would be very happy dogs. It also has 4 lakes.
You know what? It makes sense.
See, Steven's back into the pits. I wonder if she's just having vehicle troubles.
You know, I think that makes sense. Just because he has been jumping down pit road a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Stevens is about 18-ish laps down, give or take.
We are Cannizzaro back to basically where he left off, about a second and change behind.
Yeah, now with coming up 25 laps to go. Adam Stewart says maybe Stevens had to use the urinal. RC Plane says bonus points, all the urinals are outside. I don't know how we got on to talking about urinals in the championship race, but here we are, folks.
You never know, man.
That is the level of hard-hitting journalism you get here on the Tabletop Trio Podcast Network. Jacob Bettis heads down pit road. So that leaves 4 drivers on the lead lap. And that right there is the gap. 1.4 seconds separates the 99 and the 77. Ryan K on YouTube asks, what's the scenario if they finish where they do right now? As of right now, Philip Scott, I believe, has led the most laps. So there's 5 bonus points. That completely erases the deficit that he had coming into tonight's race. He has led a lap, so that puts him 5 points ahead. He has also got the pole, so that's another 10 points ahead of Cannizzaro. If I'm not mistaken, should they finish the way they do right now, Philip Scott is the champion.
I think that's the math.
So right now, Cannizzaro is pushing. However, he was about 0.3 slower than Philip Scott the last lap. Scott did a 33.37. Cannizzaro did a 33.62.
I don't think it's possible right now.
And Adam, that is correct. The 77 did lead a lap, so that does negate the 5 points. So Scott,
yeah,
in theory, just has a
10 points.
10-point advantage, which if they were to finish the way they are, Scott should still be the champion. But we still have 22 laps to go.
But at this point, there's no way that Scott can lose the most laps led, because I'm fairly certain he's hit like 60 of them at minimum.
I would venture that as a safe guess.
Yeah. So that's that. Those points are his. Same with the pole. So he's got those 10 points. If I'm not mistaken, it's a 5-point difference between first place and second place, and Cannizzaro is 5 points up.
Yeah. So this, in theory, would then have them tied coming into the race. So it would be whoever finishes ahead of the other driver.
Race math is hard.
Race math, pit math.
Equally hard,
math.
if not harder. Urinal math, super simple. 1, 2, how many bathrooms are there? Very simple urinal math.
The most we had to do was convert meters to feet.
Yeah.
But right now, Philip Scott opened up a 3-second gap over the 77.
Yeah, I don't know if Cannizzaro is going to be able to make up 3 seconds the way that Scott is running right now.
Yeah, last 3 laps, Scott has opened up 0.3, 0.4, and 0.4. That's 1.1 seconds in the last 3 laps. RC Plains and Adam Stewart talking about bonus points. So, yeah, 15 bonus points for the 99. 5 bonus points for the 77. 5 of the 77s and 5 of the 99s cancel out because they both led a lap. So that does only leave 10 bonus points for the 99. So 18 laps to go, coming to 17. Cannizzaro pulling away there from Shane Ewing that time. Philip Scott picked up another 3/10. Now that gap builds to almost 4 seconds.
Yeah, Scott can keep this pace. He will sneak in to the championship that basically fell into place last week because the crash out, I should say the 2 crash outs from DeBarro.
Yeah, I mean that was all led up. I mean the issue between DeBarro and Cannizzaro after Dover. Cannizzaro was penalized some points, which essentially negated the difference between the 77 and the 27. But after last week's issues that DeBarro had, that essentially knocked him out of the fight for the championship for tonight's race.
Yeah.
So 4.2 seconds separate Philip Scott and John Cannizzaro Jr. As now we have 15 laps to go. Johnny Williams in the chat saying, all that mathing has my head hurting.
Yeah, tell me about it.
I feel you, and I'm here too. $14 to go. Philip Scott is the leader. There's John Cannizzaro Jr. running in second place. We're going to have to wait a whopping 15 seconds to find Shane Ewing. Here is Ewing just entering turn 1. 5.5 seconds behind him is the number 28 of Jamar Dumas. Ace House here on the front stretch, currently running in 5th. Jonathan Gaston, after spinning on lap 1, has recovered himself up to a 6th place finish. Or 6th place run at the moment. Here's Jacob Bettis in the number 6 car. Jason Schue entering turn 3 in 8th. John Cannizzaro Sr. here in the 55, running in 9th. And right now, Ross Stevens rounding out the field here in 10th with Garrett Gleason out of the race. That's through the field here. Now with 12 laps remaining, Philip Scott back to running the bottom. There is the track map, looking to see where your favorite driver is running at the moment. Philip Scott through 1 and 2, down onto the back straightaway now. There are some of those 1,000 palm trees on the property here at Homestead. But now 10 more laps remain here for Philip Scott. And all he says is, let's just keep these 10 laps nice and smooth. 34-second laps. Jason Schue pulls all the way down onto the apron.
at this point with Scott, slow and steady. Got 10 laps, almost 6 seconds. But, Scott throughout the season is known as, I'm going to set my pace. I'm going to do my laps. This is where I'm going to be. So this is his bread and butter.
Yeah, he is definitely Mr. Consistency here. Nine laps to go. And if we take a look here, I mean, look at the consistency we see from Scott. 34-1, 34-2, 34-2, 34-3, 34-4. All within, a tenth of a second of each lap.
Yeah. That's when Scott gets alone, it's dangerous for all the other racers because he just gets into his zone.
He really does. And I mean, look there, you see the orange plus signs there for Cannizzaro down below. That means Cannizzaro is that amount of time slower than Philip Scott. So last time by, Cannizzaro was about a tenth of a second slower. So Scott gained a tenth of a second on him over that lap. Seven more laps remain in the 2025 A season. I want to give a big thank you to everyone who's watching, joining us along in chat, everyone who's liked the video, subscribed to our channel, followed us on Twitch, as well as here on YouTube. Certainly would not be here without any of this support. So it definitely means a lot. Looking forward to 2025B. Have a couple ideas of tracks and tracks and schedule and all the fun stuff. Likely going to be starting back up towards the end of July, I would figure. Maybe mid-August at the absolute latest. But coming now, 5 laps remain.
Stuart saying we need a yellow right now.
Could you imagine that chaos?
I'm looking on the track. The chances of getting a yellow because all the cars are so far away from each other.
Yeah, that's the thing. We saw with North Wilkesboro last week. Everyone was just kind of on top of each other, and even with the way the cars were braking, it was so easy to just lose the back end going into a corner, or, gassing up a little too hard and losing it out of the corner. Here at Homestead, you don't really use the brakes all that much. You just kind of use the brake to help the car turn. Adam says, if I was there, there could be a yellow.
That's usually my line. Except, without the could.
Yeah, there would.
Yeah, there would be a yellow.
So 3 more laps around for Philip Scott. His gap has opened up to 6.7 seconds. Jacob Bettis just under 2 seconds behind Jonathan Gaston for that battle for 6th. But we're going to keep it right here. 2 more laps around for Philip Scott. Had himself a great season. Only 1 win on the season. That was back in Montreal just a couple of weeks ago. 18 starts, 12 top 5s, 16 top 10s. He only finished outside of the top 10 twice all season long. and he's got the finishes to prove it. White flag in the air, one final time around for Philip Scott. Down the back straightaway. The stat that has been bugging him all season long, all career long, Philip Scott has never won at a 1.5 mile oval until tonight. Checkered flag in the air. Philip Scott is your 2025 champion.
What better time than the championship race where you needed to win to win?
What a finish. What a race. Incredible battles early on. Some more battles throughout the season. Just amazing all year long. Philip Scott is your champion. John Cannizzaro Jr. comes home second. And what a race. What a year. Philip Scott going to burn it down here on the infield. A well-deserved championship celebration here for that 99 machine.
Absolutely.
RC Plane says we got Philip winning a 1.5 mile track before GTA 6. Philip Scott burns it down. And deservedly so.
In I believe that's Japanese. We got a Philip Scott's complete victory. In the chat from RC Planes.
That is for sure. Johnny Williams saying some congrats to the 99. So let's bring in our top three finishers. Shane Ewing comes home in third. Philip Scott gets the win. And Joe, why don't we dial up the third place finisher, driver of the number 32 machine, Shane Ewing.
Hey Shane, congrats on the podium finish. It was an all green race. How do you think you were doing out there? How was your plan? How did everything kind of end up for you? You might have some issues with Shane.
All right, let's see if we can move Shane back over into the interview waiting room. And we'll bring in our second place finisher, championship runner-up, driver of the number 77 machine, John Cannizzaro Jr. And, John, second place finish out there for you tonight. An incredible finish, an incredible season. Just kind of talk us through the race and your season overall.
It's kind of a hard pill to swallow. Last week I was kind of all, you go through the little talk I had to have after Dover and the penalty and everything, and you kind of sit back and you say, well, I won anyways. It doesn't really matter. And then you sit down today to go race and you realize, well, that penalty is what kind of screwed me at the end of the day. So I'll have a little bit of a chip on my shoulder. I kind of think that penalty was a little bit much in the long run for what I think happened, but I'll still say at the end of the day, I think I won that war between, the parties involved, and I can't say anything about Philip. I mean, he just simply outpaced me in every way. I can't run the bomb at Homestead. It's that simple. I don't have a very good track record at this track. Just limited skill, I'll say. So it's kind of sucks when you rattle off 6 wins and a couple of them were hard fought, a couple of them were just walkthroughs, and you come up short second place. So I'm still not upset about it. I tried my best. I think I had the best cars, whether it was performance or looking on the track most weeks. So nothing to be ashamed about. I'll take it and smile.
Yeah, definitely a tough fought season all season long, and when it came to battles, you and Philip had some incredible fights all race long. It felt like the entire first stint, you and Philip were just side by side, kind of trading spots as you went.
It was fun. The whole idea was if I got out in front of him, maybe he won't be able to get past me on the bottom. So just I don't know. I guess I kind of overthought it a little bit too much on how good he'd be on the long run, and I pulled slide jobs on him. I tried to run around the outside of him. I tried the bottom. I couldn't get to him. I mean, he was just that much faster. So tried pit strategy. That didn't work. I almost spun off pit entrance and pit exit. Couldn't do it. I poured everything into that car.
Definitely, and next season, going to be back in the Gen 4 cars, but in the the real Gen 4 cars. What are your thoughts with kind of keeping the cars the same, but just kind of using the updated version of them?
Well, they're going to be a little bit different. I think the actual Gen 4 cars are a little bit shorter than what these are now. I think these are nationwide cars or something. So they might drive a little bit different. They might be a little more aero dependent. They might not be. They might be faster at certain tracks than these are now. They might be slower. So we'll see what happens when the time comes. But the one thing that does stay the same is I will still be up front, and I will still have the best looking cars on racetrack every week, and probably the best interviews, bar none, hands down.
Absolutely. And John, before we let you go, I'm sure you have some shout outs, so let's hear them.
I gotta thank Senior for racing this season. He had a lot of fun, even if he didn't run great. Ryan Cole, he was only here for a couple races. His rig ended up breaking, so he helped spot for me and do some crew chiefing for me today. Tyler, he does all my paint schemes for me. He's sick right now, so he didn't get to be here. And my beautiful girlfriend that's currently sitting next to me napping, she doesn't really like racing all that much, but she still supports me through all of it, and she thinks I did amazing. But and you guys for on the broadcast, obviously, and Garrett and everybody else for putting on the league. So it's a nice place to come back to once in a while, and especially to have fun in.
Awesome. Well, John, congrats on a fantastic season. Congrats on the second place finish, and looking forward to seeing you see if you could beat that and be one more spot higher next season.
I hope so.
All right. That is John Cannizzaro Jr., our runner-up here tonight at Homestead-Miami Speedway. And Joe, you've made your way down to Victory Lane to chat with our champion and winner tonight here at Homestead, Philip Scott.
Hey, Philip, congratulations on the victory tonight. Congratulations on the championship win, and congratulations on your first 1.5 mile victory. What a time.
Oh my god. Yeah, I knew I had to shout out to everybody that raced this season, and DeBarro and John, especially since they were the two biggest rivals this whole season, and it was so tough the whole year. So many races I'd come up close and wouldn't be quite to where they were, and yeah, so many. I mean, how many seasons have I been doing TNR? Like 9 or 10 seasons, and yeah, I've only ever really run one at either the flat ovals or road courses. The only ovals that I've won at in TNR are Milwaukee Mile and Pocono. So those are very road coursey. So that kind of yeah. But I knew going into this, especially when I guess DeBarro wasn't feeling well, got sick, so he wasn't here, and so I knew it was going to be tough. I knew it was just going to be a matter of having to win and lead the most laps, getting pole, and yeah, I just had to go for it. Put in a lot of work the last couple nights, and real because I knew that I had to pull out something special to win this. Because John's so good, and I knew I just had to full send and really learn from every mistake that I've ever made on mile and a halfs, and put it all together. And I'm really glad I put it together. Like winning by 7 seconds or whatever was just like me as telling Shane before I just got in here. It was just like taking out all of the frustrations of all the years of not being able to put it all together. Like I've won a championship here, but that was still just rolling off of being consistent top 5, top 3 finisher, and getting the road course wins. But this time I I really feel like I put the big stamp of authority on it, with winning at an oval on the last race. So yeah, I'm very proud of this one.
Yeah, absolutely. Now you and Canizaro, the first stint were kind of neck and neck, back and
Yeah.
forth. On that second stint, you started to break away, and then kind of never looked back. Did you just kind of have to uh, get into a different mindset, or were you just had to change up your race a little bit?
Yeah, he was just really fast short run. Obviously, he can rip the top like nobody. And so it was a lot of back and forth because he was able to get the momentum on the high side. Like I was able to get the lead back from him like a couple laps in, and then he got it back from me after about 10 laps because he was able to just really get that top hooked up. And but then the tires start to fall off about 15 laps into the run, and then they just like tank off a cliff. Like you can run like pretty close to 33 flats like the whole first 15 laps, and then it just falls down to 34s whatever like very quickly. So I just had to keep being consistent. I didn't panic when he got out in front, and I just kind of kept running the bottom and hooking it. Hooking the bottom here is really tough because the whole track really doesn't have grip because it's old now. And so, but it felt like the best thing for me to do until obviously the tires got too worn out and I couldn't turn anymore. So then I moved to the higher side. But yeah, that was mainly it. It was just I my long run pace just came in near the ends of those runs, and uh like for example, and then I just had to cover him off because I didn't want him leading laps to get that bonus point. So
Mhm.
but yeah, that was pretty much what it was like.
Absolutely. And I'm sure you got some shout outs for us.
Yeah, obviously shout out to you guys for streaming this week in, week out. I'm looking forward to Bob taking over the reins of the league. Obviously Garrett will still be involved, but obviously shout out to him too for bringing together such a awesome league. I've been in tons of leagues, not tons, but I've been in a few, and they don't have near like I've been in ones with like tons of really high I rating, like almost pros, um and they're so fast and so even, and but nothing comes quite close to the quality of racing you get here, especially near the front. um there's always somebody to battle, whether you're in the back or in the front here, and that's what I always really like. And yeah, I've always had a blast being able to be closer to the front most of the time. And yeah, so uh yeah, I'm looking forward to next season. um and yeah.
Awesome. Well, congrats again on a well deserved victory tonight, and a championship season for you. And but hopefully we'll be chatting with you in 2025B.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, next season it's gonna be fun because tomorrow this was a great send off for um this was a great send off for our awesome legacy Gen 4s. Because tomorrow the big boys that Dale Jr. scanned, the '03 Winston Cup cars, are coming in, and so I'll be having to switch from my Dodge Intrepid over to the Ford Taurus. Go figure, because I'm usually a Ford guy. So yeah,
Awesome. Well, congrats again.
Yep. See ya.
All right, that's Philip Scott, our champion and winner here tonight. And Joe, I believe let's give Shane Ewing another dial up here, see if he's able to get on with us. And Joe, I believe you've caught up with Shane.
Hey, Shane, you copy?
Yeah, man, I got you.
There he is. Congrats on the podium finish tonight. It was an all green run. What was your plan out there versus how you think you did?
Well, I had a good car. This Dizzy Motorsports Taurus was fast. It was when I didn't screw it up, it was as good as they were. But I made lots of mistakes, and you can't run with guys like Philip and John without running great laps every lap. That's why they where they are and where they finished in points. But yeah, I was happy. This car's just so much fun to drive. It's so difficult to stay on your toes and do it right lap after lap, and I couldn't do that as much as I was trying tonight.
And with that, did you kind of have a set strategy, or were you just kind of reacting when others pit, you pitted, stuff like that?
Good question. Once I had fallen back to where I fell back the first run, I knew I wasn't going to make it up short pitting or doing anything like that. So I just tried to do the opposite and stay out as long as I could. Just hoping for that magic caution that never comes out. These guys are all too good for that. But it was the bet I made. I had to lie in it. After that, I knew I'd settled for third. I was racing with Jamar, and I knew I couldn't stay out long again. So I pitted the lap after he did, and had a really good stop that time. And I think he might have had some trouble on his last stop because I had a pretty like a 3-second gap when I came out, and I really ran the best I'd run all night on that last run. Very, very consistent, not a lot of mistakes, and I really lost no time to fill up that whole last run. So yeah, I got it right. It was just too little, too late.
Absolutely. Well, I'm sure you got some shout outs for us.
First of all, I want to thank you guys. The Tabletop Trio broadcast is awesome. My mom watches every week, and the guys at Dizzy Motorsports, of course, all my teammates, and the league, TNR and Garrett and those guys. It's just a super fun league with a lot of great guys. I really enjoy running here. I say it every year, but I hope I can run have not so many life events happen and make all the races next year and maybe see what we can do in the playoffs. So that's my plan.
Absolutely. Well, congrats again, and hopefully we'll be chatting with you next season.
Yeah, man. I'd like a good regular dose of that. Well, you guys have a good off season for however long it is. I don't think it should be too long, but we'll be back at it, and we look forward to talking to you guys as much as we can.
Absolutely.
All right, that is Shane Ewing, our third place finisher here for tonight. And, well, Joe, I think it's just about time we wrap things up here. Let's take a look at the final results for tonight's race. The winner and champion driver of the number 99 Ninja Phil design machine, Philip Scott, gets the win. John Cannizzaro Jr. comes home in second. Shane Ewing in third. Jamar Dumas comes home fourth. Ace House in fifth. In sixth is Jonathan Gaston. Jacob Bettis comes home seventh. John Cannizzaro Sr. in eighth. Jason Schue comes home ninth with Ross Stevens in 10th. And Garrett Gleason rounds up our 11-car field for tonight in 11th place. Well, Joe, that is just about going to do it for us. Our champion is Philip Scott. John Cannizzaro Jr. comes home in second, just 10 points behind Philip. Jonathan Gaston is our third place finisher in the standings with Anthony DeBarro. After missing tonight's race, he will fall down to fourth. And Ace House is our fifth place finisher in points. A fantastic season all around. And man, I am already looking forward to next season already. Gen 4 cars. The schedule is slowly coming together. Still looking for a couple of tracks to slot into a couple of places, but overall, it is going to be a ton of fun. And Joe, I'm already looking forward to next season.
Yeah, absolutely. I love watching these guys race. I feel like I'm learning a ton as I am a terrible racer. But just watching these guys race kind of gives me so much experience outside of me actually racing. So it's always cool to watch these guys and pick their brains after they win.
That is for sure. But for one final time, I'm Bob.
I'm Joe.
And this has been the 2025A Schue's Lawn Care Service Grand National Series for the Total Nonstop Racing League here at Homestead-Miami Speedway. Congratulations to Philip. Thank you so much for watching on both our Twitch and YouTube channels. Make sure you like and subscribe and all the other fun YouTube stuff. For a full schedule of events, make sure to check out our website, tabletoptrio.com. Once again, I am Bob for Joe. Have a great night.